So here we are in front of Photoshop Elements 11 Organizer. We've come back from shooting a few images, and what I have in front of me is the media card that I've taken from my camera. How do we get the images from the card to the computer? Now, I've noticed that many modern computers have card readers built into them. So there's a good chance to get your images from your card to your computer. You just need to find which slot to place the card in. What I use here is a USB card reader. It's inexpensive, simple, and what I'm about to do now is just slot the card in, which is what I've just done. Now, the window that's popped up on the screen is pretty familiar to many of us, that whenever we put a card into a card reader, this is what's likely to happen. Sometimes it occurs when we put discs in or USB drives into our computer. I could select Organize and Edit here, and you can see we've got the label Organizer 11. But it's going to take us to the same window that I'm going to show you a different way. So I'm going to close that down, because I'd like to go up here and click this little arrowhead. Anytime we see these little arrows, it's an indicator that there's more than one option here. So I can get images from files and folders on my computer. I can get them from a scanner by searching from Adobe, whatever that is. But the one I'm really looking for is from our camera or card reader. We can, of course, connect our camera via the cables that come with it to our computer, but most of the time a card reader's a little bit more convenient. So let's click to select that option. Now here we go with the questions again. Computers just love asking us questions, don't they? From the drop down box here, we're going to choose the EOS Digital, which is the card I've just placed in the drive. Straight away we've got some evidence that something's happening, because we can see a thumbnail there, and these are just a few images I shot in Sydney a few weeks ago. We can see that it's selected 18 files on the card. We can see the size. We can see where it's about to place the images, and I have the opportunity to browse for any drive or position I want to. But for this exercise I'm going to leave things simple and allow the images to be placed into, well, you can see the address there, but it's going into a folder called Pictures. It's going to create a subfolder for the shot date of the images, and I found that's quite useful. But again, these are going to be personal choices. You do have a number of different options here. I always choose not to rename any of the files. I like to be able to see my files with the original names right through to the end. Otherwise it's very easy to get confused between which ones you've manipulated and which ones you haven't. The next option here says, after copying the files, do not delete the originals. Now that's my chosen option, but it's also the default, because we've also got the opportunity after copying, verifying, we can delete the originals, or after copying just delete the originals. I don't know whether it's just me being over careful, but I like to see the images safely on my computer and backed up onto an external hard drive or on a disk before I remove them from the card. Now that way of working mustn't be too bad a way, because as far as I know, I've never lost an image in over 20 years of shooting digital. We're going to just take a quick look at the advanced dialog here, and you can see the panel opens up bigger and gives us a much better idea of the images that are on the card. You can see all the images are ticked, so we've got the choice here to download all of the images or just a chosen few. I have to tell you that again, for as many years as I can remember, I've never taken just the odd image from a card. I always download the entire contents. Now over on the right hand side here, we've got all of those options I was talking about earlier on. We don't actually need them. Let's go back to the standard dialog, because what we're interested in here is getting the images onto our computer. So I'm going to click Media, and we're going to let Photoshop bring the images on. Now in its basic form, we've used the organizer so far for what the main intention is, I guess. to be able to get our images onto the computer, to be able to see them in nice big thumbnails, and we get the opportunity to adjust the zoom of the thumbnails so we can see a lot more images if there's more on the card, or we can see more detail of the images we've got. That's another personal choice. You can see what I mean about this being a very nice way to browse our images to decide which image we'd like to open up in the editor to make a change to next. At the moment we're seeing some of those music files as well, because the software by default will always show you the last downloads that you imported into the software, and those music files were an automatic part of the install. So let's keep this part fairly simple. I'll increase the zoom of these so we can see all of our images, or most of our images. That'll do. Let's assume that we wanted to open this image up into the editor. Now, I guess in most circumstances we would double click and expect that to happen, but it doesn't here. It opens up in a larger window and gives us an opportunity to view the image much bigger, and double clicking again takes us back. To open this up into the editor, I'm going to right click and choose that option here. It's going to take just a few seconds on the first attempt because the editor has to load as well as bring up the image. In a couple of seconds we've got the image opened up into the Elements 11 main editing screen. The next time we open up an image, of course, it'll be marginally quicker because the editor part of the software doesn't have to load again. At the moment, let's be happy that we've got some images onto the computer, and we're going to close this one down. The way we close an image down from the editor without closing the editor itself is we just hit the little cross on the tab here, and the image goes and we jump straight back into the editor. Let's give that just one more go. We'll right click and edit with Photoshop Elements Editor, if I can say it, and there you can see the sequence was much quicker this time. Let's close this one down and go back into the organizer. Now what I'm going to do here is do that process just once more. I'm going to select every one of these images by just clicking the first one, holding the Shift key, and clicking the last one, and it highlights every single image, and I'm going to hit the Delete key. The reason I'm doing that is because it's asking me another of those questions. It's saying to me the selected items will be deleted from the catalogue. The catalogue is different to the images themselves stored on our computer. Imagine having a catalogue with pictures of your children. Well, you can take pages out of the catalogue, but it's not doing anything to the pictures that are in the drawer somewhere else. This works in exactly the same way, although, as you can see from the next option, we can tick the box and say, not only do I want you to delete these from the catalogue, I want you to delete them from the hard disk as well. Well, because I'm sitting here with the images on a card in my card reader, I don't have a problem with that, so I'll just demonstrate that process and you can see what's happened. If I just pop the card out of the card reader just for a second, I can then slide it back in. I'm not sure if we're going to get that pop-up appear for a second time, possibly not, so we can go straight to Import from Camera or Card Reader, select the device. There's the images. I know exactly where they're going to go because they won't change unless I physically change the location, so I can choose to get the media, and as you can see there, it's a quick and painless job. So we're beginning to make progress now. We're more familiar with the organizer and what it does, and we're becoming familiar with the look of the organizer, how it displays thumbnails to us. We know how to get from the organizer to our editor when we do want to do work on our images. We know how to close the images down without shutting the main editor screen, and automatically it jumps back to the organizer ready for us to open up the next image. So far, so good.